27 men failed her broke test, then a humble single dad stole her heart. Serena Cross had been called many things: beautiful, ambitious, intimidating. But the word she heard most often, whispered behind her back at charity galas and corporate dinners, was ruthless. She didn't mind. At 32, Serena had built a skincare empire worth $47 million from a rented kitchen and a $300 investment. She knew what it meant to have nothing. She also knew exactly what kind of man she didn't want, and she had a system to weed them out. Her friends called it cruel. She called it necessary. It started after her third serious relationship ended in disaster. Marcus, a venture capitalist with a Porsche and a penthouse, had proposed to her at a rooftop restaurant in front of 40 people. She'd said yes, dizzy with champagne and the idea of being chosen. 6 months later, she discovered he'd been funneling money from her company's shared account, slowly, quietly, assuming she'd never notice. She noticed. After Marcus came Derek, a fitness influencer who moved into her condo and stopped working entirely within 2 months. Then Philip, a charming architect who confessed on their 8-month anniversary that he'd been dating her specifically because he knew her net worth. 3 men, 3 years, 3 expensive, humiliating lessons. So Serena built the test. The rules were simple. On the first 3 dates, she presented herself as a struggling small business owner. She dressed down, casual jeans, minimal makeup, a modest bag. She mentioned money stress naturally in conversation, talked about splitting bills, mentioned she was behind on a supplier payment. She watched how they responded. 27 men failed. Some lost interest after the first date the moment the illusion of wealth disappeared. Others became subtly condescending, offering unsolicited financial advice while reaching for the check just slowly enough that she always ended up paying. A few got outright rude when she suggested they split the bill, as if her financial struggle had revoked her basic dignity. One man, a hedge fund manager named Todd, actually said, "I'm looking for someone who has her life together." After Todd, Serena almost gave up on the test entirely. Not because it wasn't working, it was working perfectly. It was showing her exactly who these men were. She almost gave up because she was tired of sitting across from someone and watching their interest evaporate the moment they thought she had nothing to offer them. She started to wonder if she was the problem. She met Caleb on a Tuesday in October. She hadn't planned to be at Brood Awakenings that morning. Her usual spot had a broken espresso machine, and she ducked in from the rain, laptop bag over her shoulder, looking like exactly what she was pretending to be: a woman running a small, unremarkable business from a coffee shop. He was already sitting at the corner table, a paper coffee cup in front of him and a slightly crumpled piece of paper he kept reading and rereading, with the expression of someone decoding ancient scripture. He had dark hair, a jaw dusted with stubble, and the kind of quiet handsomeness that doesn't announce itself. Their eyes met when she reached for the last available chair near the window. "Sorry, is anyone sitting here?" "No," he smiled, "long as you don't judge me for talking to myself. I'm practicing something." She raised an eyebrow. "Presentation? Parent-teacher conference." He laughed, a short, self-deprecating sound. "My daughter's 8. Apparently she told her teacher that dolphins are smarter than humans and spent 45 minutes arguing her case during science class. The teacher wants to discuss behavioral patterns." Serena sat down. "Is she wrong about the dolphins?" He tilted his head. "Honestly, no, but I probably shouldn't tell Mrs. Patterson that." His name was Caleb Merritt. He was 35, a middle school shop teacher, and the single father of one brilliantly obstinate 8-year-old named Lily. He bought Serena's coffee without fanfare when he went to refill his own, just appeared beside her and said, "What are you having?" And when she opened her mouth to protest, he said, "It's just coffee. Don't make it weird." She didn't make it weird. They talked for 2 hours. About dolphins, about difficult teachers, about building things with your hands versus building things on paper. He asked about her business, the cover story, small skincare line, trying to land a retail deal. And when she mentioned the supplier stress, his response wasn't pity or advice. "That's a hard place to be," he said simply. "I hope it breaks your way. I hope it breaks your way, not here's what you should do. Not a subtle withdrawal of warmth, just acknowledgement. Just humanity." She asked for his number before she left. Their second date was dinner at a mid-range Italian place. She offered to split the bill. He said, "Next time's on you then," and paid without a second thought, not performatively, not resentfully. Just like a person who had decided to do a thing and did it. On the walk back to her car, he mentioned offhandedly that he was saving up to take Lily to Washington, D.C. Spring break because she'd become obsessed with the Smithsonian. She made a whole spreadsheet, he said, shaking his head with a particular brand of bewildered pride only parents understand. She's 8. She made a spreadsheet. You raised her alone? Serena asked. Since she was 2. He said it without bitterness, without the performance of sacrifice that some men wore like a badge to seem noble. He said it the way you say I live in the house on Elm Street. As simple fact as just the shape of his life. Her mom left. It was hard for a while, but Lily's... He smiled at the sidewalk. She's the best thing I ever did. Serena went home that night and sat on her balcony for a long time. She was still running the test. She knew that. The timeline said one more date before she could consider telling him the truth. But something felt different this time. Not the flutter of infatuation. Not the intoxicating early haze of attraction. Something quieter, steadier. Something that felt uncomfortably like recognition. The third date, she arrived at the coffee shop first. She was wearing the modest outfit, the plain bag. She'd told herself she was staying in character. But as she watched Caleb walk through the door, hands in his jacket pockets, scanning the room until he found her, the small, easy smile that appeared when he did, she felt the lie sitting heavy in her chest. He sat down, ordered, and then, before she could steer the conversation anywhere comfortable, he said, "Can I tell you something that might be awkward?" She braced herself. Here it is, she thought. He's done some digging. He knows. "I really like you," he said, "and I'm not great at pretending I don't. So I just wanted to say it out loud before I lost my nerve." He looked slightly embarrassed, slightly defiant, like a man who had argued with himself about saying this, and the honest part had won. "That's it. That's the awkward thing." Serena looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "I have to tell you something too." She told him everything, the empire, the real number, Marcus, Derek, Philip, the test, the 27 men, the reason she'd been pretending to struggle. She laid it out completely without softening it, watching his face the entire time. He was quiet when she finished. "So I was being tested," he said. "Yes." He nodded slowly. She couldn't read him and it terrified her. "Did I pass?" he asked. "That's not..." She stopped. "Yes, you passed." He looked at the table, then back at her. "Can I be honest? Please. I don't care about the money." He said it with quiet, absolute certainty. "I mean that. I live a good life. Lily and I are fine. I'm not looking for someone to fund anything or fix anything." He paused. "But I do care that you felt like you needed to do this. That enough people showed you the worst of themselves that this became necessary." Something shifted in his expression. Not hurt exactly, but something more considered than that. More human. "That's a sad way to have to move through the world, Serena." She felt the words land somewhere deep and unguarded. "I know," she said quietly. "I'm not angry," he said. "I understand it. I just..." He reached across the table and covered her hand with his briefly before pulling back. "I want you to know that you don't have to do that with me. You can just be whoever you actually are." She cried in her car afterward, not from sadness. From the specific overwhelming relief of being seen. Not the empire, not the net worth, not the carefully managed image, but her. The woman who had started with $300 and a rented kitchen. The woman who had been hurt enough to build walls and systems and tests. The woman who was, underneath all of it, still hoping someone would simply choose her. Caleb chose her, not the fortune, not the status, not what she could offer or provide or represent. He chose the woman in the coffee shop with a supplier problem and a hopeful expression and a heart she'd been guarding for 3 very long years. 6 months later, Lily informed Serena at dinner, completely unprompted, with the authority of someone who had deliberated extensively on the matter, that she was mostly acceptable, and that her knowledge of marine biology was surprisingly decent for an adult. Serena looked at Caleb across the table. He mouthed, "She likes you," with wide eyes. Serena laughed, full and genuine and unguarded, and thought that this, right here, was worth every single test she'd ever had to run just to arrive at a table where nobody was pretending, nobody was performing, and the only thing on the line was something true. 27 men, had shown her who they were the moment they thought she had nothing. One man had shown her who he was when he thought exactly the same thing, and that made all the difference.